Hey, welcome back to a Faster Me. This is going to be the Manhattan Beach Grand Prix. It was the state championship for crit, basically Southern California, the Southern California Nevada Cycling Association state championship for crit. So we got a huge field, great turnout. I think it's over 60 women racing, and it's a really stacked field. Got a lot of women in town for some events at the Velodrome. I think there's some UCI events going on at the Velodrome. I'm not really plugged in the track like that, but you know the events basically added to some excitement for this race and just having a really competitive field. You got the women from Legion out. You got Virginia Blue Ridge, Blazers, the Mommies. A Faster Me. Just a LABA, a bunch of teams out, and a bunch of international girls as well. I shouldn't say a bunch, but a number of international girls that are out here for racing the track. And yeah, there's just some big hitters, some Butcher Box women, Altavelo. I know I'm missing some people, but yeah, when there's 60 riders in a P123 race, obviously there's a lot of big hitters because locally there's just not that many women that can race. So to get a field of 60, obviously there's people that came from out of town. So anyway, this is a state championship here. We're basically going for the Cat 2 state championship because that's kind of the highest level that we could win. I think Elisa's a Cat 1, but she's not. She's Canadian, so I think she's not a full-time California resident, so I don't even think she's eligible for it. So we're basically going for the Cat 2 championship with Morgan James. So if you look at the map in the top left up there, it's kind of like a boomerang / hot dog kind of shaped crit. They're not true U-turns. They're kind of hairpin turns because they're on different streets. But it's pretty, I don't know, it's a pretty fun course. I love it. It's one of my favorite crit courses out here. And it's a pretty long lap with just two. It plays out as like basically two really long straightaways. That little kink in the middle that you see, it's not a real turn. It plays out as basically two long straightaways with two hairpin turns. So that's Anastasia moving up the left side there. They had a lot of good preems, good money for this event. I think there was an $8,000 purse for the women. And it's great. I'm really happy that they made it to the $8,000 purse because what they did was, if the women had more than 60 racers, it's an $8,000 purse. If there was less than 60 racers, I think it went all the way down to a $5,000 purse. So it was good that we made the number and the women get a chance to have like a decent payout. But I think most importantly, they came out to race and it was just a really stacked competitive field. So. I mean, we did Tulsa and stuff earlier this year. It wasn't quite that stacked, but, at the front end, it's as fast as it gets. So, just maybe the depth, it doesn't have the depth as Tulsa does, but I think it was just a great competitive field with a lot of strong women in it. So that's one full lap there. Like I said, you see the hot dog shape in the left there. There's no real technical parts of this course. These U-turns are semi-technical, mainly because there's a dip right there, and it's just hard to get the angle correct here, especially when you're used to taking like a certain apex on a turn. This turn is not that. It's kind of an early apex turn that opens up wide on the exit, and it gets immediately into this kind of kicker here. So these climbs, which it does have some elevation in this course, but the climbs are so fast, as you can see, they're almost at 30 miles per hour. You really just momentum climb up these hills. You do have to put in a little effort to get it rolling coming out of that hairpin turn, but actually going up the hill is not too taxing because you're going to be at speed majority of the time here. Then it has this short downhill section here where you get a little breather, and then the next kicker, by the time you hit the next kicker, you're somewhere between 28 and 35 miles per hour, so you really just roll up the next kicker. So if you've seen my videos before, I like to talk about cornering and apexing a lot, and I think this course is one of the unique courses for California crits because this next turn coming up, turns 3 and 4, they give you a good chance to practice one of the techniques I talk about, which is second apexing. And it also gives you a double apex chance, but second apexing. And later in this race, one of the Virginia Blue Ridge girls is going to demonstrate that perfectly. I'll talk more about it when we get there. So this camera angle is Morgan James. I had 3 cameras in the race, but I'm really behind on videos and just been busy with some team stuff and work and just different things, just life. Just been busy with life, so I'm really behind on videos. So I didn't take the time to kind of cut through all the videos. So I'm just going to use Morgan's video, and if I need to or if something happens, then I'll cut to Marlena's video or Elisa's video. But for the most part, the entire video is Morgan James' video. And I think Morgan did a great job of racing this weekend. As a kind of, her main thing is the track. She's on the defending national championship team for Team Pursuit. And, as a kind of sprinter, as she's kind of like our designated sprinter for the most part, she did a lot of work in this race. Probably a lot more or a little more than I would want her to, but she did a lot of work. You see the stars and stripe there too. That's Kendall Ryan. I'm sure most of you guys already know her. You got Kendall, Holly, and Laurel in there for Legion. I apologize because I do forget some of the Blue Ridge women's names. I think Mahias is one of them. I'm just drawing a blank at the moment. But Virginia Blue Ridge is really strong too. I think between them and Legion, they're probably the 2 best crit racing teams in the country. I'm sure there's some other women out there that would like to argue that, or to contest that title. But from what I've seen, both of them they're pretty good at what they do. So as you can see, the pace has been off and on pretty fast those first 2 laps here. There's PC kind of shooting up. Looks like she's just going to the front a little bit. But yeah, this is the slowest it's been. So 2 hot laps and then it kind of chills. But they had a lot of good preems and stuff in this race as well. Along with the payout, they had a number of preems. And that always just kind of spices it up a little bit. That's Elisa there in front of us. Elisa's going to end up, a little spoiler alert. She's going to end up I wouldn't say crashing out of the race, but for the most part, yeah, crashing out of the race. Later on in the crit or whatever. So we'll talk more about that when it gets there as well. But yeah, I'd love to see our local fields, actually just all the fields get this deep. Because even some of the larger races around the country, even some of them have smaller fields than this, So yeah, we really got to just keep doing our job of trying to promote women's racing in general. Because a lot of races have disappeared in these last few years, not just for women, but just, races in general. So we got to keep our foot on the pedal, and we got to start showing up. We just, when there's races, we got to show up. Just like any other sport, when it's game day, you got to play. So we had a number of women in this race. I think we had a total of 7 women in the race. We have our 4 or 5 women that have stepped up now to Cat 3, and Ellen Strickland and Audrey Williams. They did their first P123 race today. It didn't go so well for them, but it was great for them just taking the leap to move up to a Cat 3 from being a Cat 4 the last couple years. But we also had Anastasia, Elisa, Marlena Bemis, Morgan James, and Julia raced earlier in the day in the 4-5. There's Marlena there to the left. Yeah, I've been so backed up. I would have loved to have Morgan break down this video with me, but just distance and time. So I just decided, hey, I better throw it out before people forget about the race in general. So if you've been following our team at all, like we've had a really good year. The women have really worked hard and not only had a few victories here and there, but we kind of stepped up and tried to race some of the larger events. And I think not only did we have a good year, I think that we learned a lot this year. We learned a lot about racing at a higher level. There's a glimpse of it in this race. Like you'll see once the racing like really kicks in, like just how strong some of the women are from Virginia Blue Ridge. Everybody already knows how strong the Legion women are, but it puts it in a little better perspective when you have multiple strong teams out there. We're used to racing with like Legion and Blazers sometimes because they do some of the California races earlier in the season before their main season kicks in. But it's different when you have 10, 15, 20 girls up front that can really run a high pace. And I think we had some pretty good learning moments over the year, especially like Tulsa was a great learning moment. Like there's such a strong, heavy field, and like mistakes and things like that, positioning get magnified when you're in a really large, strong field. So here it's obviously, like I said earlier, the numbers are there, but the depth isn't as strong as like a Tulsa or some of those national races. But the strength, speed, and talent is definitely there in the front half of this race. Because it's late in the season, we also have a lot of girls that are, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a handful of women that are doing like their first Cat 3 race in this race as well. So this is the turn here that I'm talking about that you can double apex. You can already see, you can second apex it. It's obvious, like when you have a hairpin turn, that it's, especially like that, it's pretty clear that you can use a double apex there. But one thing that a lot of people don't know about is a second apex turn. Hopefully I'll remember to point that out when I see it. I'm sure I will, because there's some pretty hot laps with one of the Virginia Blue Ridge girls doing it. And I don't know if she was intentionally doing it. I'm guessing she was, because of how well she did it. I'm pretty sure she knew that she was second apexing the turn. Some people may be familiar with the term, some may not. I come from different sports, and I learned all my apexing and stuff like that from motorcycle racing. So some of the terminology may not be shared, but the technique is the same, and the execution was pretty good later in the race. So you see a little attack here. I don't know if this is a preem lap. We actually want it to be in a breakaway. With this strong of a field, we didn't want to really put ourselves out there too much, but we did want to, our original goal was to try to get a couple girls in a break, in a small break, like a break of 8 or so, just to kind of split the field and not be in the pack and have it come down to a full-on bunch sprint. So that was our original plan. So yeah, we definitely would have loved for something to get off the front that we could have either been in or tried to bridge to. Yeah, I wish I could have, when there's a long video like this, I have to pick and choose like what I'm actually going to put on it. So I wish I could have played the call-ups at the beginning, but there was so many call-ups. It took like 4 minutes to do all the call-ups. And since this video is almost an hour long, I definitely didn't want to post the whole 4-minute video. But as you saw, there was a little bit of attacks there. Lisa kind of accelerated for a second, and then you see, I think that's Laurel maybe countering here. I don't know if that was Laurel or Holly, but one of them countered here, and you see how strung out it is. Everyone's aware of the big hitters, and yeah, it's hard for them to kind of just get off the front by themselves. Everyone's going to cover those moves if it's somebody like Legion going or Virginia going. So I would have loved to have gotten off with like a smaller, less dangerous group of people that are strong, because sometimes you can catch people off guard. And I know one of those teams or both of those teams would have had people bridge to it anyway, or just ran it back down. And if that happens, it does, no big deal. But I would have loved for us to get into a break with some lesser known but strong riders and just see how that panned out. I tried to recruit PC the night before. I was like, hey, we'd love to help you guys get in a break. Kind of knew it wasn't going to happen that easily, which it never is. It's never easy to really establish a break. But yeah, that was our overall goal, and I thought our best chance of having like a really high finish or a podium finish, or even maybe stealing a win, which would have been just incredible. So I can't tell, that might be Camilla there to the left. It's funny, knowing all the LABA girls, they're all kind of like the same size. And of course I know, I know them personally, so you would think I'd be able to point them out in the race, but sometimes they just blend with Camilla, Alexa, and they just kind of blend and look like the same rider to me sometimes. Yeah, I think that's Camilla there. There's Linda Cruz there from Butcher Box. Yeah, so you can see the pace is kind of chill now. It's kind of settled in a little bit. We're only about, 16 minutes in or so, and it's a 50-minute race. So, yeah, you're definitely, all races kind of start off that way for the most part. You'll have a first laps, and, you kind of refer to it as weathering the storm. Once you weather the storm, it kind of settles in for a little bit in the middle, depending on, what the tactics are for the day. And then, of course, after the halfway point, it gets really hot again. So, yeah, if you look at this part, this is kind of like the steepest part of the course here. It may touch 5% or just under 5%. But like I said earlier, when you're going slow, it's a pretty hard effort. And I don't mean hard like anything serious. Just the slower you go, like kind of the more power you have to. I wouldn't say that you have to use, but the more you kind of feel that dull, kind of pressure on your legs. But typically, when you hit it at speed, like that little hump becomes kind of irrelevant. You see Colleen Gulick to the right there. Colleen's always strong and always a threat in basically any race that she's in. She has such a strong sprint, and she's so smart. Yeah, she just does a really good job of being efficient and kind of being there at the end, putting herself in a good position. So, yeah, you got one of the Virginia girls up front, kind of just setting the pace a little bit here. Yeah, I don't know why I'm drawing such a blank. It is kind of late at night right now for me. But, yeah, I'm just drawing a blank on people's names right now, which I'm usually fairly good at it. But I'm definitely drawing a blank on everyone's names. But, yeah, I was really impressed. She was really strong at the end. When we get there, just setting some pace and just putting in some real good numbers. I don't know what her numbers were, but I can see Morgan's numbers, obviously. And, yeah, the pace was good, but I was really impressed with, just like I said earlier, using the second apex technique. Like I said, a lot of people don't understand cornering that well, and I think she pulled it off pretty good. Yeah, that's one reason why I would have loved for Morgan to be able to break down this film with me, because obviously she would know all these riders. I think that's Joyce from Blazers going up the left side there. This course is a little unique like that too, because that gutter opens up like, it's kind of like a parking lot on that side, but it opens up pretty wide, and you'll see riders every once in a while like taking a risk over there. Sometimes in the men's race, someone will attack and they'll completely ride that parking lot area, but you have to swing back to the right before you get to this fenced off area here, or before you get to some of the team tents and stuff. Yeah, so this is pretty much the slowest they've been these last couple laps. Like I said, it's always going to settle down in kind of like the middle of the race. I think that's Holly going up the left side there. Yeah, so this weekend, the Manhattan Beach weekend, we were also filming a video for the team. I'm just, kind of using Willie with WB3 or WB4. It's WB4 Productions, I believe it is. But anyway, Willie does great work. Yeah, great video editing, shooting, all that kind of stuff. So gonna do some work with him, kind of shoot a team promotional video and a little glimpse into crit racing and just bike racing in general, how we started our team and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. But yeah, so we're doing a lot of filming this weekend, a lot of interviews. We had great support from Jackroo, who came out and brought some tents and some of their Jackroo tents and Wahoo trainers and stuff like that. And also from Freak Shake, they came out, had a booth, did a little story on me, stuff like that. Just our partnership with them, with all the nutrition and hydration. So yeah, it's definitely a busy weekend, and it was awesome to just see like I said, this field that showed up. It was just beautiful how the stars aligned to have such a huge women's field while we're shooting a video about a women's race team. And I shouldn't really say a women's race team because we're more than that. We do have men on our team as well, but the focus is the women right now, and I support the women, financially as well. Yeah, so I don't know if Morgan's going for a preem here. Yep, there goes an attack. I shouldn't say a preem, but definitely going for an attack. Like I said, we kind of wanted a break at one point. We pretty much knew that wasn't going to happen, or it wasn't going to stick. So we kind of had to switch up strategies. But yeah, that was a short-lived attack for us there. And I don't know because I can't hear when I'm doing the voiceover, so I don't know if there's a preem right now or not. There's a good chance there was a preem or could have been a preem. Yeah, it's a good chance it was a preem since everybody kind of sat up and they didn't exactly, it's not like they caught the rider up front or anything. Everybody just sat up kind of after crossing the line. But it would have been a good chance to counterattack here. You see Camilla's just kind of setting the pace up there, which she's going pretty hard. If Morgan's doing 300 watts here in Elisa's draft, that means Camilla's putting down a little power up front. Oh yeah, and I forgot Carolina's in this race as well. Carolina Rabat for us. So we may have totally had 8 people. I don't know if it's 7 or 8 that I named, but yeah. We definitely had a pretty, not really the full squad, but we had a lot of girls in the race. There's Holly there to the left. Yeah, it looks like someone does a little attack off the front. That might be Elisa. I think Elisa may have tried to attack off the front there. And you got Holly covering with with it looks like maybe PC covering as well. And these straightaways are awesome. Like you get a lot of recovery here on this first part. Typically the left side's pretty protective because the wind here comes off the right end. And that looks like Laurel putting in an attack over there on the right, or countering on the right, which is really good timing there. She had a really good kind of sneak attack too. She came from pretty far back and she was really separated from the front of the peloton. So other than the girls that jumped on her immediately, like the front of the left side peloton would have had a difficult time trying to cover that. So, you know, but like I said, with Legion or Virginia, it's going to be hard for them to go without anyone like immediately going with them. Everybody knows how strong they are, so they're going to cover those things immediately. And I'm sorry I'm watching this kind of like as a spectator as well, because like I said, I didn't really go through all the videos, you know, not with any type of detail. So this is really my first time seeing the entire video. You can see the flags up there, the Chevron flags. This event is sponsored by Chevron, but you can see the flags are blowing from right to left, and they're pretty stiff. Like this is not too far from the beach, just a couple blocks. And anytime you're near the ocean, you're definitely going to have some crosswinds. I shouldn't say crosswinds, you're just going to have some winds. And it usually swirls a little bit through something like this because of the buildings, the landscape, stuff like that. So the wind is also a little bit of a factor here and there, mainly on that front straight. There goes Holly this time firing. So maybe they had the same idea we did. Maybe they did want to break. But like I said, when it's Legion or Virginia, you know everybody's going to cover it. So not sure who this is. This could be Maria covering this move. You know, my memory, I'm getting old, so I just don't remember seeing her, you know, in person on the day. So, but yeah, that looks like Maria covering this. But the mommies are kind of the same way. Sometimes Priscilla and Maria, sometimes they blend into me and I can't tell who's who. Yeah, but like I said, Morgan was at the front pretty much the entire race. I think I think she could have maybe done a little bit better job of conserving energy, just being a little tucked in. But, you know, in a big field like this, sometimes you don't want to get caught out. So, you know, unless you know, like you have everybody up front that's going to cover for you and all that. So I think she was really just concerned with not wanting to get caught out of something. So she just pretty much hovered around the top 10 there, which is great to do to begin with. Got a spectator on the road for what? I don't know, but yeah. Yeah, we got to find a way to get non-racing spectators out to watch as well. I mean, it was a good turnout for all these races, but in general, majority of the attendees were racers and race teams. So we got to find a way to bring our families and get some kids events. The kids race was pretty cool, but we got to get some bounce houses or something, you know, some type of entertainment for people to make these races a family event. All right, so we're probably creeping down closer to like 10 laps to go or so, 10 or 12 laps to go. There is a counter up there. I'll try to see it the next time he comes by, but I do miss it a lot. Yeah, he's got one of the Legion girls, you know, attacking again up there. And as you can see, this one's pretty dangerous. This is a group of 4. They have a pretty good gap, but you can see how how the urgency is on everybody to kind of run it back down. It's a good job. I don't know if that was Holly or Laurel, but it's a good job by them by not running it down, forcing people to go around them and use their effort. Of course, they're going to jump on their wheel, but when you have your team starting this attack, you saw Kendall was trying to get in it as well. There's no need for you to do the effort to run it down. So you're going to kind of not block, basically, but you're not going to put your effort in. You're going to force riders to go around you and put in their own effort. Same here. You can see Kendall's kind of sitting up, and she's like, hey, I got a teammate up there. If you guys want to get to it, and bring me with you. So... But like always, you've probably seen in some of our other videos, if you follow me, when the break starts to get too big, even if you're the one trying to start the break, if it starts to get too big, sometimes it's not worth it and you just want to get up there and close it yourself. Because sometimes you just have one rider up there that is now outnumbered, and especially if a team has numbers on you, yeah, you want to get more riders up there, and sometimes it just means bringing it all back together. Kind of reset and you'll give it a shot again. And especially in a race like this, if you have a team not represented in the race, like a Virginia or a Blazers or someone, if you're one of the smaller teams, you definitely want to use them to chase it back. And of course, they're all smart, so they may or may not want to run it back. There goes another counter. I didn't see who it was on the left side that countered this time, but there's another counter. So yeah, definitely a spicy race. Definitely really surgy, kind of taxing the legs a little bit. I think at this point, we only have 4 riders left in the race. I think we still have Elisa, Morgan, Marlena, and Carolina. Yeah, so it's still pretty stretched out. They definitely have the speed up this time. I think the last couple laps ago they came through there at like 19 miles per hour, so definitely have the speed up more. Now you see they almost ran into the cones there, and later that's going to be one factor that contributes into a crash later that's going to end a lot of people's day. But yeah, I mean, this is lap 20 or whatever by now, so everyone kind of should know those cones are there and shouldn't be that big of a deal. But you know, that happens in crit races. Sometimes you're in the red, or sometimes you're just preoccupied and you kind of forget that they're there, and then when the group adjusts, you know, it causes an incident or whatever. So yeah, that's Virginia at the front up there, setting pace. Like I said, they're really strong. I am still drawing a blank on the names, but yeah, they're gonna really set the pace for the last like so many laps of this race. Definitely gonna be at the pointy end. And, you know, like I talked about the second apexing of that turn there, it seems natural, you know, to me, and being in, you know, like I said, racing motorcycles and then bike racing and stuff like that. It seems natural to me. But, yeah, it's also something that I know that a lot of people just don't spend a lot of time on the concepts of racing and race lines and all that. People talk about it, but honestly, a lot of them are never taught, you know, what those things really mean and getting a true idea of the concepts of them. Yeah, so usually this left side here is more protected with the wind coming off the right. I didn't race this day, so I don't really know how it was majority of the day. I'm just going off of memory and where the flags were. But over most of the years, the left side is pretty protected from the wind. You just get a little bit of free speed on that side. So yeah, I would guess we have about 10 laps to go right now. I know that I said 10 to 12 a couple laps ago, which was about 2 laps ago. So we probably have about 10 laps to go right now. I think we're a little over 2 minutes a lap. Yeah, I'm not sure where the rider up front is from. All right, so Virginia takes over at the front here and just, like I said, keeping it stretched out. It's definitely safer when it's stretched out as well. Faster speed is typically safer. A lot of people get afraid of speed, but most crashes come when it's pretty bunched up. You get too many people either entering a turn or just on a straightaway and it's kind of congested and you get somebody a touch of wheels or somebody cross-wheeling, whatever the case may be. But usually when it's single file stretched out, that's pretty much as safe as the race gets. So yeah, like I said, Virginia's going to be pounding it at the front for a while. Now that we're getting down to the crunch time. Now we're getting down to crunch time. They're definitely going to keep the pace as high as they want to. But here's what I'm talking about with second apexing is like this first apex there or that first curve line there, you can just completely ignore it. Sometimes you would want to hit a double apex or some people try to apex each turn. But in a second apex is why it's called a second apex. You simply have like a circumstance where you could use a double apex, but you just ignore the first turn altogether. And I don't mean the turn, but the curb line, the apex. You kind of ignore it altogether, and you're really just, after turning, you're really focusing on the second apex and just getting a good kind of exit point on that second apex there. I'll try to explain it better a little bit later. Yeah, it's probably a preem lap here. Yeah, definitely should be a preem lap with people sprinting that much. Like I said, it could be a few $100s though. I can't remember if they had a $500 preem or not. But yeah, sometimes it's worth it. So you see there's a pretty good gap up there to the rider up front. I don't know if she's going to try to keep rolling through or not, but looks like she's sitting up. Just wanted to get the preem. Or maybe not. Yeah, it looks like she may have rolled it a little bit. I think that's Laurel just kind of picking up the pace to kind of keep an eye on it. And now they decided to just run it down because, yeah, she's still putting a little pace on it to just make people chase her down. And there she goes there. I think that was the rider from Colombia. So yeah, we're probably down to like 8 laps to go. Yeah, like I said, Morgan had a good finish here. You know, a little spoiler alert. She does win the Cat 2 state championship, which is our goal. But yeah, she could have possibly been more efficient. Like she's just so far up front the entire race. You know, and you'll see, like, you know, it makes a difference at the end, like how much pop you have left in you, how much fight you have left in you at the end. But she did a great job, and like I said, I just kind of gave it away. She did win the state two, the category 2 state championship. So obviously she still got the job done. But just evaluating the video itself, like, yeah, she's at the front a lot, doing a lot of work for, you know, for a sprinter. And there's Elisa trying to attack a little bit here. So yeah, it's a pretty hard effort. Like I said, if Morgan's doing 300 in the draft, then obviously the speed's up pretty high. Looks like Elisa shut it down now. Pretty sure though there's no separation. There was never really a breakaway in this race other than for like half a lap or so. So I'm sure if she looks back, she'll see everybody's still there. Those are the cones I was talking about right there. Like I said, they've been there all race, but they kind of stick into the road just a little bit. So there's Marlena comes up to the front here. Just kind of setting a little pace, nothing special. She's not trying to make any big moves or anything. Just trying to get into the race, trying to get into the mix a little. But like I said, it's late in the race, so I think Virginia has kind of, it looks like they've kind of made it a point that they do want to control the second half of this race. And they've had a rider up front the whole time. You can see here again, like Virginia's going to take over here. Morgan should have had, instead of Morgan covering this, she should have had Marlena jump on it. Especially now that we're late in the race, we want to have Morgan save as much energy as she can late like this. So yeah, you see the Virginia riders, the Virginia Blue Ridge riders really picking it up here. Just trying to get over that hump. When you turn the turns 3 and 4 there's a little kicker that you have to get over before the downhill here. But she's definitely putting in a steady effort, just kind of keep the pace a little high. And I think it was, in my opinion, at least fairly clear that they wanted to control, you know, the last so many laps of this race, and they did a good job at it. So the speed's not too high here, so it's definitely down from like the lap before. It looks like you got a Blazer to the right there. I'm not sure who it is. I just see the gold zip wheel. All right, so we're probably down to about 5 to go, maybe 4 laps to go, 4 or 5 laps to go. I don't know why I cannot even see where they have the lap counter. But you can see the flags are still pretty stiff, still blowing right to left. Riders doing a good job at the front, just setting tempo. Not too hard. Definitely picking it up now up the incline here. And again, you see people are really hugging this right side. The left side is a little bit in the wind, even though the wind should be a cross tailwind here. But still, if you want anyone going around you there, you want them to stick their nose in the wind to the left. So yeah, she's doing a really good job of controlling pace here. Like I said, the speed's not too high here. But you do, you know, when it's late in the race like this, a lot of people are trying to save energy. They know it's coming down to a bunch sprint now. But you do want to kind of discourage people from launching a late attack. So if you watch here on this, when they get into turn 3 and 4, if you watch, she's going to take a wide approach. If I'm not mistaken, she's going to take a wide approach to the right and just basically ignore the first turn. You're still going to have to obviously turn your bike, but really just getting your head up and your eyes around to your exit point, or basically to a late apex on the second turn here. So you take a wide approach, turn in, forget about the first apex, and then you second apex it right there. Just sets you up to carry a little bit higher speed and be pointed up the road and keep your momentum to get over this little kicker here. And if you look at the race earlier when different riders were leading the race, they were early apexing that first corner and then kind of running wide on the second apex or the second curve. But I think it's more efficient to do it this way. You can carry a little bit more speed, take a wide approach, second apex to turn. But later in the race, the only thing you'd have to worry about is taking that wide approach just leaves the inside really open for somebody to end up dive bombing underneath you. Yeah, so again, we're only down to a few laps to go. Looks like PC takes over at the front now. I think PC's just kind of keeping the speed high. She just doesn't want it to slow down. She's not really trying to do like a big effort or anything, just wanted to kind of roll through and keep the speed high. There goes a rider from Colombia again, jumps. It looks like she was just getting a preem also. This would be a lot faster turn if that bump wasn't right there. It's just that bump's at a point where you'd want to initiate your turn in. So if you see here, Morgan's been at the front for a while now, basically for the entire race. So now some girls are passing her, and she gets a little squeezed here, and the peloton adjusts right there for those cones, and you'll see here what happens. So Morgan's on the right up there, and they're just getting a little bit squeezed. Elisa was just coming backwards now, trying to slot in, and you see LABA's passing her. So Elisa wants to slot in there, and then there it is. So like when they avoid that turn, she was cross-wheeled at that time, and you know when the peloton swung to the left, obviously Elisa didn't react fast enough, and down she goes. So now we're just back at the front here. This is the front group that, you know, obviously just didn't get caught in the crash. It's just a couple seconds after, so there's a pretty big disaster back there where that probably took about, I want to say about eight women out of the race there. So yeah, just with that little incident and stuff, you see it's all back together again. Everybody's kind of bunched up. The speed is down. I say the speed is down. It's 30 miles per hour, but what I mean is down for this segment. They've been coming through here at like 34, 35 just before the second kicker. So we're definitely only going to have like 2 laps to go, I think, once they pass the finish line. I forgot we got a couple Go Fast riders in here as well. I think that's Samantha Bosco. Yeah, Samantha Bosco, and I can't remember the other girl's name right now. I don't know why. My memory's like dead tonight. Can't remember anyone's name. I think it's Fabiola. That's right, Fabiola. There's Anya up there in the blue. I always have to mention Anya. Anya is one of my favorite racers. Riding there for SDBC. I think she got another junior national championship this year. I can't remember if she won road or crit though. I think she won one of them and was second in the other. You see Jade shooting up on the left. I haven't mentioned Jade much this race either, but you see Jade up there in the red major motion crit, creeping up the left side there. Yeah, you can see how congested it gets over there on the left side. Definitely a little safer when it's strung out. So Morgan had faded back a little bit, you know, right before that little crash incident, and just making her way back up to the front now. We might be going into one, I don't know if we're 1 lap to go now. Yeah, this may be the last lap here, actually. It's either the last lap or we're going to be going into 1 to go. Yeah, you can just see how everybody's body language is a little different. I think she finally gets an out and moves up the left side here. Just needs to get back into better position. Yeah, definitely I think this is the last lap. See one of the Blue Ridge girls on the front up there setting pace, and now the other 2 are trying to come through. I believe that's Holly and Laurel moving up now on the right side. You got Colleen there in good position as well. Morgan needs to be a little bit tucked in better, obviously, but she's trying to just fight for position here now. Still has a lot of time, though. It's a really long straightaway. Yes, really long straightaway. You got to put in a little effort here. So, yeah, you're burning matches here, just trying to get back into position. But yeah, this is such a long straightaway, and it does give you some good recovery here if you can get tucked in pretty well. The speed's so high that the drag is magnified. So I think she's sitting pretty good here. You see they're up to 36 miles per hour. I think it's pretty good at this point. You still probably got about 600 yards to go, 600 meters to go. I think Morgan should have went right then, though, with the girl in orange. Should have jumped on the girl in orange's wheel. That was probably her best shot to get a slingshot there. So she comes out here, and this is definitely on the non-protected side. This is the wind side. Yeah, and I believe you see Kendall shoots up the side there, and I believe Kendall ends up taking this for the win. Morgan ends up getting 9th overall, but she's the first Cat 2 across the line to win the state title. So as you can see, just used a lot of energy. She had no sprint there. You see her max watts on the day was 1,000 watts, and in her sprint, she was barely hovering around 600 watts or so. So Anyway, it's a great race, stacked field. Sorry I couldn't do the voiceover a little more justice, but thank you for watching. Thank you to Jack Rue and Freak Shake for their support this weekend, and we'll catch you on the next one.